And speaking of things for Tanner, we have the final film we watched this week, which was, of course, the 2000s film Battle Royale.
Dude, Battle Royale is the story of a bunch of Japanese... See, I feel like they call them middle schoolers, but then they also say they're in the 9th grade.
I'm pretty sure they were graduating high school, I thought.
No.
I just assumed they were all in high school.
They definitely call them 9th graders.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do call them that. I don't remember how exactly Japanese schools work. Maybe 9th grade is the last grade for middle school there.
Oh, I think it might be, because I'm pretty sure their high school is only 3 years, so that would make sense.
Guys, I think we're getting a little in the weeds for the summary.
True.
Anyway, it's a bunch of Japanese students. They are kidnapped by the government and set loose on an island and told they have to kill each other because only one will be allowed to live. And then they do. But some of them have a very clever plan to escape. The end. Fun fact, this movie had no stunt doubles for anyone.
That's fucking crazy. Also, Japanese Hunger Games, ? Anyway, what are our rankings?
Actually, Hunger Games is just American Battle Royale.
Dude, you're so right for that. Anyway, what's your ranking?
I'm sitting at a flat B.
Holy smokes,
I'm also
dude.
at a flat B.
Holy smokes, dude, I'm also at a flat B.
I'm also at a flat B.
Well, let's pack it up. There's
no discussion needed, which is probably
review.
for the best. Is the only film we watched this week I took 0 notes on.
It's so
The biggest problem
weird.
is it's too fast-paced.
It is pretty... I don't know if it's insanely fast. I've definitely seen movies...
I don't know. To me, it was insanely fast-paced. Like, when I got to the end of it, I was like, how the hell was that a full 2 hours? It felt like maybe 45 minutes.
That personally didn't bother me all that much. I also can we, acknowledge for a second how fucked the world would be if... Because, this is, I was gonna say reverse psychology. It's not what I'm trying to say. Maybe you guys will understand what I'm trying to say. If you're gonna, punish your students for misbehaving, and I know that's, a very minute way of, stating what's going on in this scenario, but if you're gonna punish your students by sending them to an island by classroom and having them fight to the death so there's only one of them left, do you understand how fucked you would make your society, not only from a moral standpoint, but also the fact that you're killing the next generation of people? If I'm to understand this world correctly, this has nothing to do with my rating of the movie, I don't think. If I'm to understand this world correctly, are we just supposed to think that this happens on a regular basis and the Japanese are completely fucking their culture because they're reducing the amount of potential people that have children to carry on their society?
Know how bad it'd get in the next 25 years.
Didn't they say this only happens once a year?
Maybe?
Yeah, I believe in the movie they say it only happens once a year.
I guess that's fair. I don't know. This movie is very interesting. I knew from the start, I was like, alright, how are we gonna, figure out how to make it so, not one person walks out of this thing alive? And of course we had all of our clever students. We had, the hackers, they were trying to figure things out, which then we find out it wasn't actually those three, it was, that one random kid who was, in there before, who did, a double, triple cross, or whatever, how many times he flipped back and forth. Also, nope, lost my train of thought, hold on, somebody else go.
Yeah, so, for positives, I was just gonna say, I think it's a fun action flick. I think it is satisfyingly gory and brutal and all this kind of stuff. Probably my favorite character was the instructor guy. I love, his attitude with the whole thing. He's very funny, intentionally so, obviously, but, I like him.
The Japanese got their... Jackson, what were you gonna say?
What I was trying to say is that I didn't have anything to say in that moment.
Oh. I will say, Tanner reminded me, characters in this movie are surprisingly resilient to bullets.
Oh, yeah. They can take them like champs.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Because,
They're Japanese bullets, they're weaker.
I don't...
Well, you see, Dylan, Japanese, the natural metals that they have on their island are not particularly good, which is why they had to create the folding technique they use for samurai swords, you see. Otherwise, they'd just be too brittle and instantly break if they attempted to use, the technology we used for swords over in Europe. I don't know why I said we, I'm not from Europe.
Well, at some point we were all from Europe. Anyway, there were two notable moments in this movie where I made that comment, and the first one being where it's the two girls on the cliffside with like the megaphone, and that one exchange student fucking lights them up with the Uzi. And I'm like, oh, they're dead. And I'm like, then they do like a dramatic roll on the ground. I'm like, that's a bit much. And I'm like, oh, but they're still alive though. How does that make sense? And then he like shoots her one more time, and they add that like really weird, bad blood effect, in that instance. And then the second notable part, which if that wasn't recognizable, the ending where, it's the teacher guy with the 3 kids in the room. And, the one guy, the main kid, he just fucking lights him up and he, like, dies. And then the phone rings and he gets up like, oh, got a phone call, and just walks over and picks up the phone. Dude, that shit was
fucking awesome. I loved
I can't believe they ripped off, Falling Down, though.
Yeah? Yeah, and then the conversation that ensues after, it's like, yeah, actually, turns out I'm not gonna be coming home, and that's all she gets. And then he like throws the phone and shoots it, and he's like, oh, the last cookie. And I was like, oh, is he gonna offer to the kid since he never actually got a cookie? And he fucking eats the cookie and doesn't even chew it and fucking dies. I was like, what the fuck?
This guy's badass, dude. I love that guy. I guess let me talk about the book real quick, because one of my other big complaints with this movie is I think it's pretty thematically empty. I don't think there's a lot going on beneath the surface level at all with this movie, which is very different from the book. Like, did they really make it clear at any point that it's supposed to be like a totalitarian society under like a brutal dictatorship?
No. I had a lot of questions about how this world functioned and got zero answers.
Yeah, there's a lot of... Like, they don't do any of the world building in the book. Like, in the book, yeah, it's like they don't really live in Japan. They live in, like, the Republic of Greater East Asia, which is, like, a couple of different Asian countries all under this big dictatorship, and it has a lot of messaging around that and whatever. And, like, the explanation of why they're doing the Battle Royale I find strange in this film. Because they kind of just say, oh, like, some students protested once, and so now we just, like, randomly have these death battles.
Yeah.
In the book, they give 2 explanations, and I like both of them much better. One is just that, like, the initial explanation we get is the guy being like, I bet just some fucking military weirdo suggested doing this as, like, a combat exercise. And then just the nature of bureaucracy makes it so that once you create a system, it just kind of self-perpetuates, and that's why we're stuck in this, which is an interesting idea. And then the ending explanation... the ending explanation is because, like, when a person wins the battle, they, like, send out their picture all over the news and whatever, and they were like... by, sending out to society this thing of like, hey, this one person killed all of their friends, it creates a sense of distrust amongst the general population, knowing that, oh, if push comes to shove, I guess I can't trust anyone because, if these children can't trust their own classmates, what hope do I have, Which is also much more interesting and makes a lot more sense. And another, random difference, in the book, I think they said 50 of these happen per year.
Oh my gosh.
Damn. So they're churning through these things way more. There's a couple of weird changes from the book, like certain battles are just swapped around when they happen. Like, the big battle at the warehouse with the bomb is supposed to happen before the lighthouse thing. There are a couple of fights that don't happen, which are kind of a bummer because they're decent ones. Like, the guy with the GPS tracker, he's supposed to also be like a martial arts guy, and after the Lighthouse Massacre, he goes there to investigate, and then the killer psychopath dude also shows up, and they have a showdown, and the GPS guy actually manages to get the upper hand and, like, incapacitate him for a while and get away, which is really cool. What was the other weird change? There was a big one that I want to remember what it was. Oh, so this is the one that makes the least sense to me, which is that in the book, like, there are no there are no transfer students. Like, they're all just classmates, you know? And I don't know why you would just turn two of the characters randomly into transfer students, because it really undermines what you would think would be the central point of this, which is that, like, being able to create distrust amongst, you know, ostensibly friends or peers or whatever. But now you're like saying, well, these two guys are just explicitly outsiders, and then they're also the ones driving most of the conflict.
We got the explanation, like, oh, this guy, he's so bad that he just joined it willingly. Why was the other guy here? Did I miss that?
In the book, and they do say this in the movie, but they explain it in a way that doesn't make any sense. In the book, he's only 1 year older than them, and the explanation is he was the winner of a battle in the previous year. His injuries were so bad that he wasn't able to go back into school, and so he essentially flunked his classes and had to repeat the year at a different school because they just transfer him somewhere else, and he randomly gets selected to go into the game again. And in this one, they do say all that. For some reason, they say he's like 3 years older, but I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, frankly. But yeah, he's probably the biggest casualty of this, and also the biggest casualty of the pacing, because, like, since he is a kid that got held back and was, you know, one who had survived this thing, he was, you know, the outcast in the thing, and seeing the bond that he's able to develop with our two main characters and him is like a big part of the book, and we don't really get that at all in the movie because we're just having to go through all these fights so quickly, you know? There's a couple other random changes here and there. The thing with the guys that were making the bomb, their plan is reasonably different in the book. Like, what they're trying to do in the book, because I think they don't say this at all in the movie. In the book, they say that, the quadrant that the school is in becomes a forbidden zone immediately after the game starts. And so what they have to do is they rig up a rope and pulley system from, like, the top of a cliff attached to a tree on the other side of the school, and they're gonna fucking, like, you know, rope and pulley, whatever mechanical movement adjective you want to use there, the bomb over the school and drop it on them. But yeah, I remember liking this movie quite a bit the first time I saw it, but having read the book, I'm like, man, the book just, it's, you know, it is better and whatever. I think it just does a lot more interesting stuff to think about and whatever, and also obviously, like, lets you explore the characters way better.
What would a 7 out of 10 convert to on our scale?
7 out of 10 is like a 3.5 out of 5. And a 3.5 out of 5 on our scale converts to the book scale. Hold on.
What?
On the book scale, I'd say that's probably about... Are there actually exactly 10 here? There's exactly 10 here. It's excellent.
Fantastic. What would that be like on the movie scale?
On the movie
tier
scale,
list?
that's about a B to a B+.
So it sounds like you liked the book and the film about the same.
Maybe I do like the book better, even.
Crazy.
I don't know. Why was the teacher outside?
I don't know, but
why was he?
I'm gonna blast out my thoughts really quick. Random rape scene. What the hell? Also, sex. What the fuck? These are high schoolers.
Have you seen anime?
I get that there's murder. Right? That hardly matters. Anyway, this is an anime. This is real life, obviously.
Have you seen any, like, American high school movie?
Probably not. I've seen High School Musical. Does that count?
Yeah, there's sex in that one.
The singing is all a metaphor for sex.
Yeah, it's like Fusion and Steven Universe.
One thing that I thought was kind of interesting is where they painted the picture of distrust in that first scene that comes up was in fact the lighthouse scene, where it's the whole kerfuffle of like, oh well, this girl watched the main guy kill this other guy, but he did it on accident, and like they fell and the axe hit him in the head, but the other girl didn't think that, so she wants to kill him, so she poisons the food. But then the food gets mixed up because this one eager girl from, like, guard duty comes in and, like, takes the bowl immediately and then kills her. And it's so... I almost said funny. Is it funny? It's interesting how fast that just devolves into, okay, who the fuck killed this person? What happened? Nobody else touched the food. And then immediately, they somehow managed to kill each other in the span of less than 2 minutes. And then it also resulted in the fact that, the poison girl just didn't own up to anything and could have quickly resolved all that. And then ends up killing herself anyway and all that. And then also, I did find it kind of pointless that the guys made a bomb. I guess in the long run it was used to, like, blind the killer guy. But it all seemed, that whole moment seemed kind of rushed and pointless, like it was misused.
That's another big negative. The ending fight is so much worse in this movie.
That makes sense.
It's like, because like the fucking big bad guy just gets blinded by those people's bomb, and then they just fucking shoot him.
Yeah.
The ending fight in the book. It's like Mimura and his crew in a car, and then that guy also in a car, and they're fucking like trying to ram each other off of cliffs, and they're just blasting each other with guns like crazy. It's really epic, and this movie just doesn't have that at all.
There's a lot of suicide in this movie too, like a lot of suicide.
Yeah,
understandably.
It's almost as if the Japanese have it traditionally in a lot of their media for some.
I actually don't think they depict it very much in their media at all.
What?
I think it's a bit taboo.
Do you guys, just because I was confused by this, the kids that jumped off the cliff thinking they could, well, before I say what I was about to say, the kids who jumped off the cliff into the ocean, was that them trying to commit suicide, or is that them trying to escape the island?
Yeah, that was them killing themselves.
Okay, because I got the idea that they were trying to escape the island, but they knew that wasn't going to work, so that's why I was, okay.
One problem Jackson and I had, though, is there were a couple of, well, let's just say we have a bit of a blindness when it comes to recognizing different folks of Asian heritage, let's just say. And so we had a very tricky time telling a lot of the characters apart. And that just led to some real confusion at moments.
Specifically, like the fucking, where they randomly were in the lighthouse or some shit with all those women, and we just had no idea if the main girl was part of this group of women. And then we get back to the fucking, like, ran down tea house, wherever the fuck the temple they were in, like, oh no, that's her, that's right. But like, we are like, what's going on right now?
Very funny.
We're kind of retarded.
That's why I like anime, you know? They're all, like, color coordinated. It makes it very easy to tell them apart.
I had mentioned that scene how in the book, you know, because you don't get to see the characters, and then 3 of them have, like, almost identical names, so it becomes it's very hard to keep up with them. Pretty funny.
That's why they're friends.
Yeah, yeah, perhaps.
Alrighty, boys. Do we have any other thoughts on a Battle Royale?
Nothing insightful.
I was gonna say I thought it was I was impressed talking to ChatGPT over how many of the concepts in this movie are actually original to it. Like the idea of a battle royale, as we understand it, did start with this, which I was a little surprised by, to be honest.
How often do you guys just converse with ChatGPT?
Basically never. I talk to AI at my work for coding.
Yeah, I don't converse with it. I basically use it as a search engine now, because it kind of is straight up better than search engines now.
That's what Google AI
I believe
is.
ChatGPT with every fiber of my being. Everything it says is true.
Every time I think about getting information consistently from ChatGPT, I just think of that one GIF where somebody's like, ChatGPT is wrong like 75% of the time on a subject I know a ton about, but like I'm just going to blindly trust it on the things I don't know about, and I'm not going to think about that any harder.
That sounds like me. Don't do that. That's bad.
I ask it Yu-Gi-Oh questions sometimes, and it doesn't know shit.
Yeah, no. I ask it programming questions all the time, and it just generates the most garbage bullshit of all time pretty consistently. But also, sometimes it has starting points to jump off of. Anyways, I don't think I've said anything about this
not
movie.
a whole lot.
I don't really.
You said you couldn't recognize any of the characters because they all look the same.
I didn't even say that. Nico said that for me, but
You agreed with him.
I mean, I didn't say it because generally I don't really have a crazy amount to say about it. I think it's a fun film. I think the idea is novel for what it is. I think some of the editing is interesting, kind of reminds me of Monogatari in some ways. But it is also, it's pretty fucking stupid. The acting isn't particularly good in a lot of the cast. It's very, very fast paced. It doesn't give you time to breathe a ton. Some of the bigger issues is literally just like as you guys are talking about with the fucking bandana guy, and like his character is very strange, especially with his mixing with the two main characters. Like they don't help each other out in any real way, so like it just feels like such a weird dynamic to have them group up. It's just so strange. But generally speaking, I say I have fun with this film. I think it is an interesting cultural piece from the era.
Dude, I just realized if they're supposed to kill each other, why did the teacher kill the first two students?
They were talking too much or something.
That felt like it ultimately defeated the purpose. I thought the first fucking kill where he just takes the blade and fucking snipes that girl straight in the forehead, that shit was crazy, and I knew what I was in for.
That's another just like weird small change in the book. The guy dies first. I don't know why they change that.
They like to be different.
Yeah. Who cares anyway?
Yeah.
I'm sticking to my B.
I was real quick just gonna like concur with Jackson. Our main characters, our two main characters, Shinji Mamura and Noritaki, whatever her last name is, Nakagama, don't do anything.
They're just along for the ride.
Not particularly. They can't just hang out for the most part, and then they win.
Yeah, this is kind of a watch along from their perspective.
They're very passive protagonists.
It's so funny too that you mentioned that, because we'll be getting scenes of people being slaughtered or killing themselves or something, and then it'll cut to them just like walking around aimlessly. It's so fucking
That is
funny.
valid. I didn't realize that till now. Oh my gosh.
I'm
Anyway,
sticking to my B.
Yeah, despite all my nitpicking and whatever, like I still find it entertaining. So yeah, I'll go ahead and stick with my B as well.
I need to go and like add unanimous ranks. It landed at a B, by the way. I need to go and add unanimous ranks again. It's like a stat I'm calculating, because I used to do that previously, but I don't show it anymore. It's so rare we actually all unanimously agree on a rank, so I'm curious how many of these there actually are nowadays.
See, and this is a very proud B too. Like usually B's kind of like not great, but like I'd be down with watching this movie again. I didn't think it was bad.
I definitely think this is an easy watch, yeah.
Yeah.
It's some turn it on and don't really think too hard about it kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.